Hello and welcome back to Blues Focus. We're back with Opposition View. I'm Harry, and today we're joined by Corey from the Rams Review podcast. How are you doing, mate?
Harry, thanks for joining me. I'm very well, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. I'm looking forward to the game on Sunday. It should be a good one.
Yeah, it's great to hear. It should be after the form you've been on and the form we've been struggling with. If that's right with you, amongst all the chaos going around Derby right now, I think it's probably better to start with what's happening on the pitch before moving on to behind the scenes.
Yeah, definitely. Derby's been in fantastic form. We've had a bit of a blip last week against Nottingham Forest, where we lost to our local rivals 2-1. Didn't particularly play very well in the game. After the first 20 minutes, I thought we were pretty well in the game, and then the last 70 minutes, it kind of just went a bit, not pear-shaped. It just went a bit dull. The players looked a bit leggy. Obviously, Ravel Morrison got sent off straight red. He'll be unavailable, but he's with Jamaica anyway, so that's fine. But other than that, Derby's been in pretty good form this season. I think when you look back over the course of the season as a whole, there's probably only, I think, playing against you guys last time out at St. Andrews was probably one of the few times that we've been not at the races and played off the park, so to speak, this season. But every other game, Derby's been in, only been really losing by the odd goal. Up top, we struggle for goals at times, but defensively we're solid. So that's going to give you a good base to build from. If you can nick an odd goal, you're going to get the victories. And Rooney's done a fantastic job with the squad with the limitations and everything. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But on the field, I don't think I could be. It's a bit weird because we're second bottom, so it's a bit weird. Yeah. But this group of players, minus the 21-point deduction, I think we'd be like 3 or 4 points behind Forest, and they've had their best start to a season since like forever. So I've been quite pleased with the stuff that's gone on the field this season with the players. They're all fighting hard, working hard for each other. That's something we've not seen from a group of players at Derby County for a while. So, really galvanizing them. And it's been a pleasure to see it so far in the field. Sometimes it's not pretty. It's not liquid, sexy football.
Yeah, of course.
But it's effective, and to get the points and to be where we are here in late January is fantastic.
Well, for the Blues fans who maybe haven't seen much of Derby on the pitch this season, who do you think is the one player that Blues fans should be a bit wary of coming into Sunday?
The captain, Tom Lawrence. Tom is a bit of Marmite within our fan base. He's I think he's in his 5th season with Derby. He on his day he's phenomenal. His day sometimes doesn't come around all too often, which is disappointing. Tom's a fantastic player, and he was given the captaincy by Rooney. A little controversial amongst some of Derby fans because of his instances with the Richard Keogh instance about 18 months, 2 years ago. But he's been captain. He's got over some of his issues, and he's put in some really, really good performances. And especially since we went into administration and got that first points deduction, Tom's been excellent. And he had a bit of a slower game last Saturday against Nottingham Forest, as all the Derby players did, but he still was able to get a goal. So he's having probably, in my estimation, probably his best season so far in a Derby shirt. He's extremely influential. If he's on song, we've got an excellent chance to win because he links up play. He can finish. Tom doesn't necessarily score tap-ins, but he leads from the front, and he's a captain that tries to lead by example, and he's doing that on the field right now. So we definitely need a big performance from him come Sunday.
Yeah, of course. And obviously there was some big news today about him, wasn't he? I think Wayne Rooney confirmed he's actually staying this window.
Yeah, I think that's the hope right now. Obviously, Harry, you can say whatever you want, but as teams get desperate towards the deadline, tend to lose all sense of everything and pay crazy amounts of money or make crazy decisions. It looks like hopefully Tom Lawrence will stay. I think what happened was QPR Bournemouth were interested in him. I think the bids have been kind of rebuffed, which has been good to see. But on the flip side of that, Harry, Tom Lawrence has got 6 months to run his contract. He's at a contract in May. If somebody comes in on deadline day and says, we'll give you $500,000 or $1 million for him, I mean, what do you really do? Because the problem is you need the cash, but you also need the player to be able to try to stay in the division. So it's an interesting balancing act, but it was good today to see here in the press conference that Rooney said that Tom won't be leaving. So hopefully that's true. Hopefully he doesn't leave, because we'll certainly need his quality in the second half of the season for sure.
of course, yeah. And obviously, taking a step away from the pitch for a second, we won't spend too long on it, but obviously it's very serious and really complex issue going on at Derby right now. Something that no football fan of any kind should have to go through. Not just administration, but the pressure being put on the club to provide the funds to finish the season as a whole. And it seems like there's so much pointing the finger right now, figuring out who's to blame. Who is, in your eyes at least, in the eyes of the Derby fans, who is the one right now that you're looking at and going, you're the one destroying our club? Is it the AFL? Is it Mel Morris? Or is there something else that?
Well, I think Harry, that's a. I don't think I can necessarily answer it with just one. I'll try to in a little bit, but I think everybody's got a little bit of a part to play here. I don't think the EFL has covered themselves in glory with putting out a dual fixture list, Derby and Wickham, and doing that. I don't think they kind of made your own bed with that one. Obviously, Middlesbrough, they're. I don't even really want to talk about that because that's just mental. You're assuming on a season where you lose 7 of your last 12 games that you're going to get into the playoffs, and then you're going to win the playoff final, and then you're going to go to the Premier League and you're getting all these vast riches. That's a lot of assumptions for a game that's played by 22 players on a grass field on a Tuesday, Saturday thing. And the reason we love football, Harry, is because of its unpredictability, right? So you can't sit back there and make those assumptions. So, those are holding up the deal. I don't think necessarily administrators, they kind of shown in as these these guardians in shining armor. And it's been kind of dulled recently because it kind of feels like after their bills came out, which they're charging Derby some ridiculous fee. It's like, I think it's like $500,000 a week to administer the club or something. So obviously it's in their best interest to keep it going. Might not be a week. I think it's a month, $500,000 a month, but it's in their best interest to continue to drag this out. I think they could have probably been a little bit more proactive in things that they do. But again, I'm not privy to the conversations with that. And then a lot of the blame has to fall on the previous owner, Mel Morris, and the chief executive, Stephen Pierce. And I think if I was to, you pressed me here, Harry, to put my name onto one party that's at fault for that. And the fault has got to surely blame at the foot of Mel Morris and to a lesser extent, Stephen Pierce, the chief executive, who's oddly still in a job at Derby and taking money. Bizarre, but whatever, it's football. But yeah, Mel had overspent for years. I was always one that said, eventually the sheriff's going to come knocking on the door here because it's fun to have the EFL on strings, and that's with air quotes for your, it's whatever, but you're upsetting a lot of people. You're selling the stadium to themselves, which, while legal, I mean, if I'm having to ask, was it really illegal? Then they're to a gray area, right? Like if I punch you, Harry, was it really illegal? Yeah. If I'm having to ask that question and go through that more, I wouldn't punch you. You're a nice lad. But if I'm having to debate in my head, there's something obviously weird going on there. And the sheriff's knocking on the door, and he's had to do that. We found out that also Mel, once we went to administration, it found out actually how much we did owe. It's $30 million to Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, to the tax man, as well as he hadn't paid any bills for years. He hadn't paid money to the St. John's Ambulance Service. He hadn't paid money to small businesses when Derby. He owes money to Derby City Council and Erie-Wash Borough Council for uses of car park that he hasn't paid. So he was pretty much at the ship of the Titanic as it's going down. He's just like, yep, peace out, see you, and kind of threw it away there. But again, football is a complex business, and I'm sure he had the reasons to do what he's done. But unfortunately, it's just led this club onto the precipice of what could be. Hopefully, I don't think now that Birmingham is our last game because we got that 1 month extension to provide proof of funds before we're liquidated or kicked out the league. But I think if you press me, Harry, on one individual, I think it's solely got to rest on Mel Morris because he had to spend, because the dream of making money for football is to get to the Premier League, right? And then it's untold riches. You've got big old pound signs in your eyes, like little cartoon. It's like it's just a license to print money, and maybe the structure is a little bit to blame with that and everything like that with the Premier League, but. You have to spend to get up there. We overspent on very average players. Jacob Butterfield, Bradley Johnson, and Kachianya, to name a few. Brett Johnson ended up having a bit of a renaissance, but the other two are just terrible. And so, I think if you have to press me, I think the bottom line is it solely rests on the shoulders of Mel Morris and his reckless and irresponsible spending, not over one season, but over 4 or 5. And then his dereliction of being even a good businessman or a good person, of just paying your bills when they're due. I mean, there's a lot of small businesses that rely on the income from football clubs, and we saw that with the report that came out, and he's not paying those. So it's really, really unfortunate that it's gotten to this case, and it's a bit disappointing, really, from a fan's perspective, because you always want to think that your club's well run and that your club's well organized. Your organization is a good organization to be a part of. And frankly, Derby County is not at this moment in time with the way they're doing things. And it's hurtful as a fan. It's hurtful as a supporter that your club is perceived that way and is doing things in that kind of way.
Yeah, of course. And I think on a slightly more positive note, I've got here, obviously before last weekend's defeat in the East Midlands derby, you've been on a bit of a good run, a bit of an undefeated run, 5 games undefeated in the league, including big wins against West Brom and Sheffield United. Do you expect to perform in the same way on Sunday, or do you expect there to be a bit of a drop-off?
I would expect, I think every time we've seen Derby County have a negative result this season, whether it be on the pitch or whether it be in terms of points deduction, they've responded very well. I think one of the keys for me is both times when Derby's gone into negative points, they've gotten back into positive points the very next game.
Yeah.
And that's key mentally, right? You don't want to have -3 hanging over your head for like 3 weeks. When you can get to 0 and it's like, yes, now we're at 0 again. We've got something to build on. And every time they've had a poor performance, they've gone ahead and set it right. I think, Derby lack a bit of a cutting edge, and I think they just got a bit tired and leggy against Forest. I think Forest we're the better team on the day. I can hold man up and say that. And probably the best Forest team for 5 or 6 years, probably get to the playoffs, probably stand a good chance. You know how it goes with the regular season run in, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Derby tried to put things right on the field. And I think the Birmingham result, like I said earlier, was probably the worst performance Derby's put in all season. They're going to want to put that right. They're going to want to put the performance against Nottingham Forest right. We're expecting a sellout crowd. I know Derby have said they've sold over 30,000 tickets. There's a pre-match march. The fan base is very, very up for this game. And so it should be an absolute cracking atmosphere. And I think if you're a player and you can't get up to play in a game like that, then maybe you shouldn't be a professional. Hopefully they show up, because I would look stupid if they didn't. That would be silly. But
of course, yeah.
Yeah, but you want them to go out there and give a good performance, and I have no doubt that they will. We're at home; the home form's been pretty decent, and with a packed out Pride Park, it'll be a special occasion for sure, especially with all the angst that the fan base has felt between the Forest game and this game against Birmingham.
Yeah, well, I know it's meant to be your biggest crowd of the season this Sunday, isn't it? Obviously, there's meant to be big protests from both sides.
Yeah, it's supposed to be one of the biggest gates in a very long time. We've had a lot of Derby County Twitter's been very unified, really, for once. The fan base seems is getting back to be on and unified with the players on the field and with the club in general. So that's fantastic to see. We've had a lot of fans do a lot of really nice efforts in terms of fundraising to get tickets for fans who can't afford it, so that they can buy the tickets, so that they can sell at Pride Park. We've been able to do those kind of nice gestures that maybe would go unseen in other seasons. And everyone's really pulling in the same direction. So I'm expecting the atmosphere on Sunday to be a very, very good one. And obviously I would expect it. I think it'll probably be our biggest crowd of the year. Maybe be one of our biggest crowds in the last several seasons, which will be fantastic to see. And like I say, anytime you get stadium rocking, whether it's St. Andrews or Pride Park, the atmosphere is great. But
of course.
With the emotion that's gone on at Derby over the last 10 days, or at least the build up to this game the last week. So, there'll be a lot of excitement and energy in that stadium. And like you say, there'll be pre-match marches and everything like that from both sides. So should be a cracking atmosphere to be a part of, especially on the ground.
Yeah, and I know the saying's always been a bit cliche, but when you've got a stadium rocking like that, it really is a 12th man for the home team, especially with everything going through right now. To just know you've got that many fans behind you, and that no matter what's happening off the field, they're always going to be here to support you on the pitch. Yeah,
for sure. And I think that the players are starting to realize and see that. Again, it should be an exciting game, especially because if you guys have filled out your contingent of 3,000 or 4,000 tickets as well. So, I'm sure there'll be some unison, because I know you guys have had some issues as well in terms of ownership and the issues at St. Andrews surrounding the unsafe stands and everything like that. So it will be a cracking atmosphere from both sets of fans.
Yeah, I'm just a bit worried about time, so I suppose finally, what is your score prediction for Sunday's game then?
Score prediction for Sunday's game. I think it's going to be a good match between these two teams. I think Derby will put something right, the performance right against Birmingham from the first time. And I think they'll put the Forest result right as well with a good performance. Would expect a raucous crowd. It might even be lifted if the game's a bit turgid late on. I would be shocked to see our star midfielder Christian Bielik be brought on to raise the crowd a little bit more in the game. That's something that Birmingham need to be wary of. Obviously, he's been out for almost nearly over a year with a second ACL tear in 2 years. So don't expect him to turn into like vintage like Ronaldo or Messi. But
yeah, of course.
Very, very good player. It'll be an emotional lift for the if players are struggling and things like that. We need a bit of a boost. But I'm going to go with a 2-1 Derby County win. I think there's too much emotion in this game from a Derby County perspective for them to lose it.
Yeah, I can completely see that. I think from what I've seen over the last couple of years, one thing this fixture always shows is goals, 100%. That may be famous last words from me, but it always seems to be high-scoring games here. I'd probably have to. I'm gonna match our score against Peterborough on Tuesday. I'm gonna say 2-2, and I believe that's all we've got time for there. It's been great having you on, Corey. Some really good takes. Be sure to check out the Rams Review podcast in the description and follow Blues Folks on all social media. And I wish you the best of luck Sunday aside, Corey. Thank you.